Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions. And today I want to share with you the top 10 resources that made me a better clinic owner and a better business owner, and share that with you so you can take that and start to learn these concepts too. I think you'll find it very, very helpful, the information that we're going to go over here today. Many of us went to school to become physical therapists, chiros, surgeons, you name it, right? Occupational therapists, but we never went to school to learn business, right? We didn't get much of anything kind of training in school. And unfortunately, we see that with a lot of clinic owners that I've talked to over the years, and this has led to them feeling overwhelmed running their business is running them. They really don't know how to manage billing, finance, front desk, people management. They're trying to just figure it out on the fly. And as a result, they tend to have an out of control business, right? Or that they keep it small and it's stressing them out, right? They're getting burned out. And as they start to add people on, if they don't have the right systems in place, their employees run amok, cause chaos, and you might get a bad person in there, and you're just kind of dealing with it. So, I've been there. I've been through all of that. Nothing's ever perfect. I constantly am and improving myself in business, but I've learned a lot along the way that's allowed me to build, a multi-million-dollar business and have over 90 staff working for me. And I've got a great management team that runs most of the day-to-day operations. And so I can be more visionary and kind of direct the future of practice promotion. So, it's been a journey of getting there, and it's been a lot of business learning along the way. And I've made plenty and plenty of errors and mistakes and fallen on my face. But it's how you get up, right? It's how you get up and what you learn from it, and then how you apply that to growing forward. I remember stories so funny. I didn't know anything about marketing when I started up my practice. I worked for someone else that had started up their business, like I could do that, right? And I want to treat the way that I want to treat. And I think that's how a lot of us get into running our own business, but then we don't realize, like, hey, we transferred from being a practitioner to actually being a business owner and entrepreneur, right? So we've got to make that decision, like, okay, I've become a business owner at this standpoint, and I need to operate as a business owner first and practitioner second. And so once you have that realization, you start to learn about business and all the things that go into that. So I would highly encourage you, if you haven't really thought about that and you're still treating a lot of patients throughout the week, put that hat on. Yeah, I am actually the business owner. I'm the entrepreneur of this business. And that comes first before treating patients, which is kind of a funny way to look at it, because we usually got into business from being the other way around, right? So just that's a good way to look at it. But yeah, a couple of things that I find funny from looking back on in the day when I first started up my practice, and I didn't know anything, right? I was green as anything, I was good at treating people, but running business, green as anything. So I remember, my wife and I, we did things like door hangers. Had door hangers printed. We go out to the local apartment complex and put those on, thinking we're going to get a ton of patients from this. And, of course, that was a huge flop. Of course, we try to develop the physician referrals the way that everybody does. And I remember saving money trying to cut up fruit, make our own fruit trays, give that out to doctors and start to get in the door. So I mean, you do things because you're in a very low budget, right? You're trying to just get up and running with what you have, but understanding like what will work and what doesn't work. We've all been through some school of hard knocks. I'm sure we all have our funny stories to share. I want to share this one story. I thought it was pretty funny because I could not confront employees. I had no spine, right? And my wife was the same way. And so we felt, you treat patients, you love helping people. You feel bad about having to handle a situation with an employee, right? We had this one troublemaker in our team, and she was, constantly bickering to other employees and, making things bad there. And so, we needed to really confront her about this, and ultimately, you know, things happened there. But we 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 I'll tell you the spine story here. Well, the spine story is that my wife and I came up with this game where we would cut out vertebrae, right? So we cut out paper vertebrae, and each time one of us, handled a conversation or a difficult, thing with an employee, we gave ourselves a spine. And so we built ourselves a spine up the wall in our office. So it helped us give a little bit of a game towards overcoming that challenging thing, which is to get out of your own comfort zone and just confront, situations. And most of the time it's no big deal, but it's just that feeling of like, oh, I got to handle this. And so anyway, we built a spine in our office from that. I thought that was pretty funny. Last one here was we had this philosophy, and I look back and I find it humorous because it was so wrong, but it felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. But we used to have a saying which was regarded to our amount of work and effort in the practice, right? So the saying went like this. The saying was first one in, last one out, biggest bank account. So the thought was like we put more and more and more hours into this, we're going to have more and more, revenue and profit out of our business. And that was just such a wrong way to look at it because you can't work yourself to death. There's only so much of you that you can put into your business. And if you're going to build a business, it's really about building the team to build the business, right? And so the one thing that I learned too is the less valuable that I am to my business, the more valuable the business actually is. So that's always the goal is what can I do to direct the business, but have people grow within that business to run it for me, right? So that was a big lesson learned over time, but for a long time I operated under that. So today, I want to share with you some great resources here, some good books. I think you should check these out, read them. They definitely help me. I think they'll help you too, and it'll make you a better business owner. So, first book I want to share with you is called Good to Great by Jim Collins. Great book here. And what happened with him is he actually followed top performing companies and looked at what companies made it and those that failed. So like big steel companies, Johnson and Johnson, like all these big names that we might know. And they really did like a huge data analysis of these companies over decades. And from that information, they looked at top things that companies did to be successful, and then what happened to those companies that failed that they failed to do. So, there's different like characteristics that you need to think about when operating your business, and what do you get the team to focus on without being distracted along the way with lots of different things that come up in daily life, right? One thing that I really liked in this book was the flywheel reference. And so that helped me really look at how things work in business. And we tend to think that in business, things are going to happen immediately, and they really don't. And the concept here is that if you think about this really heavy, super heavy metal flywheel that's giant, and you're having to lean against it and put a lot of effort, and slowly it starts to spin. But as you keep walking around, it starts to spin up over time. And that's really the way that a lot of things happen within your business, in your practice, is that you might start a new marketing program, but hey, it's not really showing me much results after a month. Well, it might take about 3 months for that to really get some traction, right? And get moving. And so that's that. And once it's in place, you've got momentum behind it, right? So if you take your foot off the gas and you think, hey, things are going good now, I don't need to invest as much in marketing as I used to, that flywheel will slowly start to spin down over time. And now you're behind the curve, and you have to like put a lot of effort to get it spinning back up, and you waste a lot of time getting that marketing flywheel back up. So, that applies to lots of different things in the practice, not just marketing. But I love that flywheel reference because I've definitely seen that the bigger the company is, like as we've gotten bigger in practice promotions, I know that to pivot and change, it takes some time, right? It takes the team some time to if we're going and adding a new product or new service or whatever, it takes some time to really get that up and running, right? So it's a great reference there. So definitely check out Good to Great by Jim Collins. The other book that I really like is called The One Thing by Gary Keller. So if you get a chance, read this. And I love this because it brings things down to a simplicity here. And so when we're looking at a problem in business, when you're coaching your team, you're trying to come up with a solution, or you're trying to communicate something to your team, you want to boil it down to that idea, the one thing, the primary idea, or the one thing that you're trying to accomplish, right? So that everybody can then have clarity. Oh, yes, anything that we do, we're trying to go towards this one thing, right? because we might have a list of things that we need to get done, and that's fine. We can list those out, but what's the priority? What's the absolute one thing that needs to get done or communicated? And so this book really helps you look at a framework for bringing that down, and the question that you ask yourself, or you get the question that you get your team to ask themselves when they're approaching a process in the business. So again, check that book out, The One Thing by Gary Keller. Next book I'd love for you to work on reading, if you haven't already, is Traction by Gino Wickman. So great book here. It's the EOS system there, so entrepreneurial operating system. It's a great book on core business systems. So if you haven't, it's a great book because you'll see some things that you're probably working on in the business already naturally, but then it helps you look at how you systematize rhythms in the business, right? So how do you do meeting rhythms, your team's meeting rhythms there, right? And how do you do reporting, and how does the team set up, frameworks of how they operate? And so it really helps you look at the core principles of running a business. So I highly recommend you check out that book, Traction by Gino Wickman. Really good data in there about running the systems in your business.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
What we tend to think of as practice owners is that, again, this is where you cannot be spending all your time in patient care, because you need to have the time to really work on the administration of your business. And that's what makes it really go. It gives you freedom, it gives you profitability, and you can help more people, right? And less headaches and all those kind of things. So if you have a lot of headaches and you're burned out and you're working too much, you need to carve out some time, like blocks of time in your week, where you don't take any patients, right? And you get some help in to help out with those other things. But now you can work with the knowledge of these books to start working on the administration and the systems in your business. And that's what's going to really make it go for you, right? The other book I'd love for you to take a look at here, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. A great book here on how you're starting to build your team up. And again, if you want to have a successful business, you have to build a great team, and especially a good management team that can handle a lot of things for you, because you can't do it all yourself. So the better your management team becomes, the less work it is on you, and the more you have time to be a visionary for where you want your practice to go. So the nice thing with the 5 dysfunctions of a team is it really helps you look at what is the common barriers and issues that all teams face, and how do we develop good communication and accountability within that team, and how do we cultivate the best out of that team. So a really good book. It's fun because it's in like a story also, so it's a great read. It's very easy on that one. So 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni is really good. Another great book here is Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. Great guy. Seen a lot of his talks. Great book too. I reference this all the time. So this is a little similar to Traction in that it helps you really look at systematizing your business and what's those great systems that you need to put into place, right? So things like people, strategy, execution of strategy, and cash flow, right? So there's different things here, working on different rhythms, how performance reporting, like all kinds of great stuff in that. So it's has all that systematized business approach to you. And again, it helps take you in that direction of putting those systems in your business, which will help you scale up there. And speaking of scaling up, another book here is called Get Scalable. This is brand new. This is by Ryan Deiss. He's actually one of the owners of Digital Marketer, a really big company and digital marketing training. And so he works now with lots and lots of different companies. They've kind of gone into like working with all kinds of different companies and putting the scalable system to run and build those companies up and build a portfolio, kind of like private equity, if you will, right? So one thing with Scalable, it's a great book, again, about building systems within your business, and it makes it very simple and easy to understand. It actually brings a lot of those fundamental principles and those other systems that we talked about in scaling up and traction. But I find that it makes it very easy to get rolling with and very easy to understand. So yeah, check out Get Scalable by Ryan Deiss. I think that could be very helpful. Another fun book here is The No BS Guide to Maximum Referrals and Customer Retention by Dan Kennedy and Sean Buck. So if you don't know Dan Kennedy, well, probably one of the top sales copywriters and marketers in the world. And gosh, he was back there in like the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, right? Doing this kind of stuff. But in this book, what's really great is that often we don't spend enough time in practice thinking about leveraging our customers, right? Our patients and the experiences that they've had. There's common problems that we have with patients, and that is drop off. So, how do we combat drop off so that we can have better customer retention, right? So, if you think about if you never had patients drop off the schedule and everybody came for their, say, 10 or 12 visits, what would that look like in your practice? It would make things significantly better in your business. But what you may have happening is that you may have a patient come in for 4 or 5 visits and then never come back again. And that not only is hurtful for the patient, they don't get fully better. They're not going to say great things about your practice, so they're not a good PR. And also, then you lose the revenue of the patient not coming in for their full plan of care. So it's really important to focus on customer retention for one, and look at the systems that you can put in place for that. And then the secondly is looking at referrals and repeat business. So if you look at any growing small business, they've built themselves on their customer list, right? They've built themselves on customer, reactivations, new customer purchases, and also referrals from those customers, right? So this is a great book. Gives you a guide on how to really look at building your customer list, how to look at patient referral systems, how to look at patient reactivations, and it can really be applied again to looking at your own approach to customer retention and preventing drop-offs. So that could make a significant impact financially in your business and overall the outcomes that you're getting for patients and the word of mouth that you're developing around your practice. So great book there for you to check out. Another fun book here that I reference a lot, and this is a fun book because it's based around a concept. The imagery you see here is like magic, right? So there's a lot of magic references in here. It's a fun book. It's called Pulling Profits Out of a Hat by Brad Sugars and Monty Wyant. So this is an excellent book that helps you really look at profit centers in your business. And what you find out is there's really common areas in your practice that drain profits. And it gives you ideas on like how to overcome those. So simple things for, how do you train certain employees a certain way? And are you looking at obviously the financial aspect of things, but a lot comes back to how you operate in the business, right? And do you have certain operations in place? Because if you don't, then that's draining profits. So a fun book there. I definitely recommend you read it. I reference it a ton, it's a really well written book. Okay, another book here is Simple Numbers, Straight Talk, Big Profits by Greg Crabtree. Now, I was recently at a conference where Greg spoke. He's an excellent speaker, and this made like total sense to me. And Greg is actually an accountant, and he developed this process because, as accountants go, we just see like all the drab stuff when it comes down to taxes, right? And our profit and loss statements, and it can be confusing. And so he found that with small businesses, and what he did was he put systems together that make it easy for small business owners to really understand where their money's going, right? And how they can maximize profitability. And obviously there's good ratios that he was talking about of how much direct labor you need to the revenue that you're bringing in and things like that. So this is a really powerful book because at the end of the day, we're in it to help people get better, but we're running a business. And at the end of the day with that business, it is really about the money that you're able to take home. right? So what is the impact that we're having on the people around us? But what is the ability of the money that we can keep at the end of the day? Because if you're not taking a paycheck home, that's a massive problem right there for one. But if you're not taking much home because everything's going into the business, and let's face it, things are very lean in today's healthcare economy. So we need to be very smart and have as much information about our financial systems as possible so that we can make sure we're bringing the right amount of money home. Because also at the end of the day, when you want to sell that business and exit out of your business, whether that's next year, 5 years, 20 years down the road, that business is the profitability of that business is what people are really going to look at. And so that's going to make that investment in that asset of yours, your practice, the most valuable it can be. So simple number, straight talk, big profits is great. It really is an absolute must to understand your financial numbers. It does make it, what I like about it too, makes it easy to understand what you should truly be measuring to make the profit you should be. And so what it does is instead of looking at your profit and loss, which is usually retroactive, you start to have ways of looking more predictively in the future at the profitability you should be making. And it's a little bit of a mind shift, right? And it's a good mind shift and one that you should be able to get into. So check out that book. Lastly here, another great book is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. And this is a great book here because when you are making that money, what you need to do is have a way that it's automatically profit making for you, right? And it's so easy. The business is always going to demand more money than it's making, right? That's just nature of business. People need things are happening. So there's always this demand for money from within the business. And so you have to be able to set up these systems in a way that allow the business to take out profitability automatically and almost as like part of the bottom line. Part of your P&L sheet. So this really gives you a step-by-step process and how to create automated financial systems in your business and how that money should be taken out and moved around. So another great financial book there for you to check out, which is Profit First. So there you have it. That's my top 10 list of books that really going to help you take your practice to the next level. I hope this has been very helpful for you. I just want you to remember that you're just not a practitioner anymore. As soon as you opened your business, you are an entrepreneur and you are a business owner first. So start training yourself, keep educating yourself, keep pushing yourself to learn more, being a better business owner, and you will reap the rewards for that. So I hope you got a lot out of today's podcast. This is Neil Trickett here, CEO of Practice Promotions, and I am wishing you much success in your practice.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit. Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.